All right, Chris, we are so excited to have you here today. I have wanted you to come on the podcast and share all that's going on and all that you're doing in Columbus. So I'm so glad you took the time to come see me today.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It truly is an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. Okay, so you're a Brookstone alum.
I am.
What year did you graduate?
Long time ago.
Well, me too.
Yeah. 1997.
97. Okay, I'm 91, so not that far ahead of you. Okay, so tell us a little bit about who you are and your history with Brookstone and your story and all that, and then we'll get into things.
Sure. No, thank you. Again, thank you for having me. This is a true honor. Brookstone has, it's one of those institutions, I think, that when you're going through it, right, and I started in pre-K, so I think 1983, I guess that was. But when you're going through it, you don't quite understand how special it is.
Right.
And how impactful this institution is and what it does for you and how it prepares you. And you start to see a little bit of it when you get to college. But then you kind of fast forward as you're growing up and as you're really starting to make your way in the world, and you realize how critical this school is to the life that you have built for yourself. And so for me, being able to come back and speak to the school, or when I have occasions to actually speak at the school, it's just I'm honored, and I just hope that I can give a little bit back to the school that gave what I believe gave me so much. So
that's awesome.
So my history is pretty simple. I started off as just a little tyke. I think it was pre-K in 1983, and I was a lifer. I was at Brookstone my entire life from 83 to 97. I'm one of two children. My older sister, Stacy, was here her whole tenure as well, and she graduated in 93. So I fortunately or unfortunately had to follow her footsteps. And my sister, Stacy, I tell everybody this, She's the prettier one. She's the smarter one. She's the nicer one. She's the more creative one, and she's the one that people really love. And then there's Chris. And
that's funny.
And it's true, you know. And so when I would come up into from lower school, from pre-K, right, the teacher said, it's Stacy's little brother, and it was such an unfortunate shock for everyone, I think. And I was different than my sister, in a good kind of way, but definitely a different kind of way. Yes. And so I spent my life in high school, lower school, middle school, and high school at Brookstone, and that's helped to start shape who I was, and it was because of Brookstone that I was given a lot more freedom than I would have been given at other schools, and I think that's what set my path. I left Brookstone swearing I would never come back to Columbus, right? That typical story. I'm never coming back. It was 97 too, so there wasn't a whole lot
there really
happening here, and I went off to the University of Colorado at Boulder for my undergrad. Completed that and had an opportunity to come back and work for my grandfather, Barnett Woodruff, who was a real estate developer. And he was kind of coming at the tail end of his career here. But I took the chance, saw it, jumped at it. And in working with him, I fell in love with this profession called real estate development.
Yeah.
And it was then and there that I kind of put a note in my book of life that said, this is what I'm going to be. Okay. I'm going to be a developer. I didn't know what that meant fully when I was 21, but I knew that I was going to do that. And it was in that process that I also wanted to achieve a few other kind of mile markers in my life. And I thought it was very important to do some postgraduate work. And for me, that was to get an MBA or equivalent. Right. Kind of fast forward, I ended up going to Auburn University and doing their executive program to get a master's in real estate development while I was working with another firm. And then after that, while I was starting my own company, I thought it would be probably wise to get more education, understand a little bit more about entrepreneurship and business more than I thought I already knew. And so I went and got an MBA from Clemson while I was starting up my firm. So
good for you.
My tenure from a scholastic standpoint really revolves around always continually educating myself. I was talking to my wife last night about, when things slow down, that law school is starting to look a little appealing. And
I know. That's so funny.
It's just it's a fun if you never stop, the moment you stop learning, I feel like that's the moment you die.
Yeah.
And there's so much in this world to understand and kind of see and do. So my history starts with Brookstone, right? It starts with being around teachers who saw a curious kid and would constantly push me and ask me the questions. And that led me down these paths. So my history with Brookstone is although it happened a long time ago,
right?
It's very much a part of my story.
Right. I love that. And it's funny, my husband and I were we went to a state championship final game on Friday at Mercer, and we were eating dinner beforehand on campus. And I was like, I love being on a college campus. I was like, let's go back to school. I mean, I just love it. So I totally understand that thought process of constantly, what can we do next?
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're the president of the cotton companies now. So tell us a little bit about that and what y'all do. I'll let you talk.
Sure. I think it's before I can even talk about the cotton companies. I think it's important to understand the blessings, and I will call them that I had in my life and continue to have today with the people that I have been able to surround myself with,
right.
And the chances that mentors and other people have afforded me. But for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. Right. And so.
Yeah,
one of those people, Matt Swift, who was a mentor of mine when I was a young, spunky 21-year-old. Matt, he saw something in me, but he gave me a chance, and he was always teaching me. And then ultimately, he afforded me the opportunity to come be an intern with him at the W.C. Bradley Real Estate,
I bet that was
which
awesome.
Then matriculated into actually getting a job offer. And so for 10 years, I had an amazing opportunity to study under Matt Swift.
Oh, that's awesome.
And at the same time get to go pop into Mr. Bill Turner's office and chat with him about development and these kind of things. So I was around all these people that would just listen. And I would ask all these questions because that's just what I do. I ask questions. I want to know. And these are the folks, Abbott Turner, Bill Turner, Matt Swift, Otis Scarborough, all of George Woodruff, Barnett Wood. I mean, all these people took the time. And it's because of them, right, that I was able to grow and to ultimately realize what I felt I needed to do and what my calling was, which was to be a developer and how to effectuate positive change. I did that by starting my own company. And so the company is called the Cotton Companies. Our mission is simple. We change communities one building at a time.
I love that.
And that's what we do. We're community developers as much as we are real estate developers.
Right.
I tell people all the time that the Cotton Companies, we have the knowledge base to do any type of development you can imagine. But we won't take everything.
Right.
We don't try and go do a shopping center over here or a McDonald's over here. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. They make great returns.
Right.
But that doesn't wind our watch. Doesn't wind my watch.
Right.
My job, my goal in life is to build something and bring back community.
Right.
And the only way I know how to do that and create that is through the built environment.
Yeah.
So I understand how that works, and that's what winds my watch. That's why the company exists. It's just to create community.
Yeah.
And to give people a cool place to go, a fun place to be, and hopefully inspire others.
Right.
And that's the name of the game. Because at the end of the day, right, it's not about how much money you make. That's great.
Right.
It's wonderful. You could afford if you have more money, you have more problems and you have more opportunities. That's how simple it is. But when you stop and you turn and you look back at your life, what did you give to others?
Right.
What did you create?
Right.
What's your legacy? And so my hope is that the Cotton Companies is doing that. And every little thing we do, whether it be making the decision to put our foot down and say, listen, at this development, at Highside Market, you can be here, but you can't be anywhere else in Columbus.
Right. Right.
Because we're bringing new stuff to Columbus, or we're relocating stuff to here. We don't want a second one-off. No, this is your home. Now that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
But wow, the ripples that employs across the city and across the region to bring in new blood and new ideas and new thoughts, and to bring it all into a place, one place.
Right.
And you can do that with one storefront. You can do it with 2. You can do it with 17.
Right.
It just so happens that we specialize in creating place and cultivating community.
Well, I think it's awesome. And especially like you just mentioned, there really wasn't a lot here in 97. And what you have set out to create in downtown Columbus, it's not only beautiful, but like you said, it creates a place that people want to come back to. And having 3 grown children who I hope one day will relocate back here to Columbus, that's part of what's calling them home, is that there are so many really cool things that y'all have done downtown. So I'm grateful for that. Your fingerprints are everywhere.
Well,
so I love it.
They are on top of other people's.
Well, I get that. Yes. And I appreciate that, because truly, isn't that true of all of us,
Yes.
So I appreciate
a lot
that
of great
acknowledgement.
leaders have opened the doors for little guys like me to come in and try and do something fun.
Well, I think it speaks to really the philanthropic mindset that has existed in the Columbus business leaders through the years about trying to make Columbus the best place it can be. And whether it's through philanthropy or business, I really do think it sets the city apart from other cities. And, when I was in admissions here at Brookstone, when people would come in to look to move to Columbus, it really was not an exaggeration. I was like, this is an amazing place to live. And it just continues to grow in that direction, and that you want to be here, you want to raise your family here. It's just, so thank you for doing what you do, playing your part in all that. Because it's really fun. It's really fun to have a place that you're so proud of and you love calling home. So, okay. And you already alluded to your motto, if you will, but again, reiterating it, cultivating community through impactful and compelling real estate development. I love that. Because that's what we're all about here, even at Brookstone, creating community. So, okay. So what are some of the projects you're working on right now?
How much time?
I know I need to stop talking, let you talk. Go share to your heart's content.
We have, we've been very blessed. And, I started the cotton companies in 2016 and I had an idea in my head. And that idea in 2016 was, what if? What if I could create a white paper? And by that, I mean, what if I could create a development of just one building or 2 buildings and could calculate, tabulate, and record everything about it so that I could then go to others and ask them the question, hey, don't you want to change your community, change the block?
Right.
And that was the idea behind the cotton companies originally. And I was going to do that with my first 2 projects on Broadway. But I wasn't naive to the fact that not everybody has that mindset.
Right.
And so the challenge for me became, how do I do that, but layer on top of it the financial component? And that's the real challenge here is and that's what I did with my first 2 projects, which is where the Kilwins chocolate shop is downtown and where Stock Market is a restaurant, and then the little park out front, right?
Yes.
And so the idea was, if I can do this and build this and create a white paper that says here's the compelling argument, then I can sell that idea. And that has proven to be true, right? So I can go up to somebody and say, "Don't you want to change your community? You have a business, you have a storefront, and we can make it so much more beautiful, and it will inspire others." That's what happened with us.
Right.
And they'll go, "Yeah, well, I don't want to spend the money." And I'll go, "Okay, great, that's fine, I understand. Let me just show you the numbers on what it looks like when you do that."
Right.
And I point down the block and I say, "These 2 buildings looked like this.
Right.
We put this much into them. Here's their value now, which is substantially higher than what we put into it. And here's the rent return. Here's the actual internal rate of return that's coming from this. Now, do you like money? Because if you like money and you don't mind changing the community for the better, I can help you with both." That's what I was trying to do with the cotton companies. And so we set off to do that. And we do that through creating synergy, right? So think about a chocolate shop, which is right below an office, next to a restaurant, which is right across the street from a little park.
Right.
There's always a reason to go there. And I learned that from my grandfather. So my granddad taught me that, he told me, you can't leave the office unless you have 3 reasons to leave. Now, that's because he was a child of the Depression. He was trying to save money on gas. He was also trying to save time. But I realized that there's a rationale behind that. And I pulled that and extrapolated it and used it in the cotton company. So if I can create something that gives you more than one reason to go, it starts to change the conversation in your head. Whatever I'm doing is no longer a destination. It's a place to be.
Right.
to do multiple things.
Right.
And so the testing ground were my 2 buildings on Broadway. And then I've expanded to Mid-City Yards, which is it's about half a block, 2/3 of a block, and a small little pocket that we've created in our community called Mid-City. It's between Midtown and Uptown Columbus. And it's we took a dilapidated, vacant glass warehouse and a dilapidated and broken up, asphalt parking lot, and we turned it into an environment that is welcoming for all.
Right.
And we did that by bringing in a really cool concept out of Atlanta called Fetch Park, which is a social kind of social community where you can. It's an AstroTurf field with a bar and a 15-foot Jumbotron TV, and you come in there, you let your dog off the leash, and you just have a good time.
My dog loves it. We love Fetch.
Fetch is a great place to be. And it's a great place to hang out. And listen, you can go into Fetch, and you don't have to have a dog. Yeah. And that's the best part about it. You get to pet other people's dogs. So it kind of scratches that itch, no pun intended. But you do that next to what was the old You Need a Glass building. And we turned that into a place where they'll have an exercise facility. So we have Rumble Boxing coming in there, and we're finishing out that build out now.
That's going to be awesome.
Scofflaw Brewery, which is the 43rd largest craft brewery in the U.S.
Really?
Has their 3rd location in Columbus, Georgia.
How cool is that?
And that's right next to Moe's Original Barbecue. And so you have all these components, and that's Mid-City Yards. Now that project started midstream while I was working on the big boy that I call it, which was Highside Market. Highside Market began in 2018.
Okay.
And December 14th will be our public grand opening.
Okay. So soon.
Yes. So
we're so excited
5 years and 1
I
month
was
away.
Say,
5 years, 1 month.
Not too sure you've been counting or anything.
Right. Not at all. Not at all. But Highside Market is my biggest project. That's the one my baby. That's the one that is, I went way out on a limb and wanted to, again, test a theory. And the theory being, can I build community? Because at the time, in 2018, when I was driving past this building at the corner of 3rd Avenue and 13th Street, right, the old Ray's Uptown Body Shop, and for the older generations, the J&O Pope Motor Company building, this beautiful Art Deco historic building that you can't miss. And I've been in love with that building since I was 16, and my buddy Robert Flinoy was working there, right? I'm driving by it in 2018, and this sinking feeling is coming into my system, and the feeling was, as I unpacked it, it was, we're losing the idea of community. That's going away. And then I realized why. It's not just because of technology. It's not just because everyone has an iPhone in their hand. Unfortunately, it's because of developers.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, I'm a developer. am I doing something where I'm actually creating a loss of community in everything that I do? Because if you look at most developments, it's a strip center with a sea of parking that causes you to drive, park your car, go get what you got to get, and then come back to your car and leave. There's no reason for you to stop and talk to me. You may run into me, but that's because by chance you happened to do that.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's technology's fault and it's the developer's fault.
Wow.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
And so I realized, what if there's a chance that I can change the conversation? It's been done everywhere else. Why can't it be done in Columbus? And so I saw that in that building in 2018. Now, it was fortunate and unfortunate that COVID came right after that. But it only strengthened the argument that community was dying, the idea of community. So we need a place to gather. We need a place to gather, just enjoy life and just become. And become whatever that is. Become a shopper, become an office, just become. And that's what Highside Market strives to be. And so I set off by trying, we're going to talk about some things, advice and kind of quotes and things like that, but know what you don't know. Matt Swift taught me that. Know what you don't know. And,
that's good.
And I don't know a lot. I know that much. But I also know that my cousin Bumpsy Woodruff, who started the Woodruff companies, he said, don't ever be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, for real.
Surround yourself with people who are much smarter than you, and you can do anything.
That is powerful. So
recognizing that that's probably a better way to track success, I set out to find the right team. Highside Market is arguably one of, and not to be braggadocious, but I think it's one of the best developments in Columbus right now, because it's seeking to create community, not just for Columbus, but for the region.
Right.
Our call is not to the 210,000 people in Columbus. Our call is to the 692,000 people in the region.
Wow.
That's who my marketing group is going after. Columbus no longer is going to be the best kept secret in the area, in the region. People are going to be talking about us.
Right. Yeah.
And thankfully, there's so much going on with what the Bradley Company is doing, with what Uptown Columbus is doing, with John Teeples, Buddy Nelms. All these folks are doing so many great things and creating pockets of community.
Right.
That's what Highside is.
Right.
Highside is a pocket of community. It's a place to shop. It's a place to come hang out. It's a place to come see a concert. Just go do yoga in the park, because we'll be doing that on the weekends. You know, it's a place to be. We brought in some great folks, right? Flying Biscuit Cafe out of Atlanta.
So excited about
Mountain
that.
High Outfitters.
Yeah.
Parlor Donuts. This is the first. So Parlor Donuts is it's what's called a cronut. It's a croissant and a donut mixed together. It is basically a cake of happiness, is what it is, and it's incredible. But they have about 52 stores across the U.S.
Okay.
Now I saw my first one when I was in Denver, and we were able to get in touch with them. We brought them in, and the first Parlor Donuts came to Columbus. Didn't come to Atlanta.
How about that?
Came to Columbus first.
That's
Witt's
cool.
Frozen Custard, It's Tamale Time. Nonut Kitchen and Bar is moving over. And so we have all these things. Mountain High Outfitters, this is their 22nd store across the U.S.
Wow.
So we're becoming
That's
something.
huge.
And that's Club Pilates.
Yes.
I mean, we're bringing in these national brands, these regional brands, and we're allowing our local folks, Council Wardrobe Studio, It's Tamale Time, Silver Hanger, these guys to come in there and do their thing as well. That's what Highside is. And Highside, it's about, it's 1.8 acres, which is basically half a block, half of a city block, at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and 13th Street. 25,000 cars a day hit that intersection.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
It's the 4th largest intersection in Columbus.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it's the corner of Highside Market.
Yeah.
You can't not pass by the doors of Highside.
Right.
So I tell
really
our merchants, who are what we call part of the family, right? Because if you're going to do business with Chris Woodruff, you're coming into the family.
Yeah.
We got in bed together. We better like each other. And so, it's just as important for us to not only bring a good business in, but to bring good people.
Right.
Because if you have good people running businesses, then they'll always succeed.
Right.
It's not just the business that makes something work. It's the person and the people.
Okay.
And so we bring in good people.
Yeah.
And they become part of the family. Yeah. And we tell them that all the time and say, listen, you're part of the family. So we're all making these decisions together. And it's a different type. It's a harder way to do development. But so far, it's just the rewards have been unfathomable. I mean, you really don't know until you're watching it happen. You're watching the excitement. You're watching these people grow. And at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow, right, for the last time, I can go, wow, look how many people were able to grow, meet, do this just because this one small half a block.
Right.
Small little 55,000 square feet of 3 buildings.
Yeah. It's really cool.
But when we're able to do that because of the team.
Right.
Such an incredible team. Local folks, out of town folks, but they all came together and they all believe in the same vision. The vision is to create something, create a positive change, and do it through community building. Right.
Make this place better than it already is. And so I love it. And because when you think about the future, as you drive by anywhere in the United States and they're just empty strip malls, what will become of those? What will we do? And so this is such a different way of looking at it, and I really appreciate it and value it because I think it will transform communities. So
there's an interesting phenomenon, and Jane Jacobs talked about this in one of her books. She was in the 60s. She was a major, well beyond her time, incredible woman. But she said, when you watch individuals walk past a building that is abandoned, you can see a physical shift and change in their posture.
How about that?
And how they react.
Wow.
So even by just fixing some broken windows, even by putting a fresh coat of paint in whatever area of town you're in,
Right.
it will change the way people interact. The built environment has such an incredible impact on our psyche and ourself that we don't really examine. But next time you walk past a new building versus a renovated building versus a blighted building, just take note on how you feel internally. And I guarantee you, your shoulders are dropped down a little bit. Your head has changed just by 2 degrees.
Just by that much. Wow. Yeah. I can totally see that. You know, it makes me think of a story I heard you tell. I love it when you come back and talk to our students every year. I love it.
It's such a blessing. I have so much fun.
It is so much fun. But I don't remember the details of the story, but I know you will. But talking about them, somebody having to cut down a tree outside of your office, and what you did with that decision. I just think it's awesome. So tell that story.
Sure. I'll keep it short. The short of it is when I started the company, the Cotton Company, is our first project where my office is. It was where Kilwin's is, and in the median, right. 80 years ago, we do have obnoxiously large medians. They're about 40 feet in width.
They are really big.
They are. Now, and this will get into the story a little bit, but there's a reason for that. And there's always a reason. When you go to a downtown area or anything that's already been built, there's a reason for everything. Understanding the why of how something was done will help you to create a new why or build upon or extrapolate maybe ways to enhance the old why.
Okay.
And so it's always important to look at things and go, why was this done?
Right.
Not just, I don't like it.
Right.
Or I do like it, but why was it done? If you can ask that why question, it changes the conversation completely. So I looked at this 40-foot wide median that had these beautiful 100-year oaks or 80-year-old oaks. And there was one that was it was in complete perfect view of my office. And I positioned my office within the building that I was, renovating so that it would look on this beautiful oak tree. Because I love trees. I grew up in the country. They're amazing, right? Yes. And I went off on what I call my refreshing vacation, right? Where I used to go surf and just kind of relax and get my head right and come back. And I came back and the tree was gone. It wasn't just like, it had fallen over. It had been cut down to the roots. And so my first reaction was anger, complete and total anger. Right. Not just because I positioned my office to look at this thing that's now gone, but because somebody did this. Somebody had in my mind, right, the audacity to cut down a tree. Well, there was a reason for it. In their minds, they were trying to prevent disease from being spread throughout the tree, creating an issue, a safety hazard. Right. So they took out the problem. Right. Well, that problem was an aesthetic beauty for me. Now, I could have kept getting mad, but that would have solved nothing. Right. And as I was looking at this lack of tree area in our 40-foot wide median, I asked myself, what else could this be? What was this before? And I thought back to my experiences in Boulder, Colorado. I thought back to my experiences when I was in Europe in these little tiny pocket parks. These little, and they're called pocket parks because they're about the size of your pocket. They're tiny, and they're just in the most unknown spots, but they're a place for people to gather. And I thought, well, what if we could uproot the remains of that tree and create a place for people to gather where there is shade? And what if we put 6 trees here instead of just 1? And wait a minute, what if I came in and I put in 8-inch caliper trees instead of little tiny 2-inch caliper trees that the city always plants, right? Because I don't have, frankly, selfishly, I don't have time to wait 80 years. I want to look out on something tree now. Pretty. And right now. It's like an impetulant child. I want a tree now. So I called the city. I called the mayor and I said, Mayor, we got a problem. He goes, well, what is it, Chris? I said, somebody cut down a tree. Well, Chris, they're supposed to. Well, not to worry, Mayor. I've got a way to solve the problem that you didn't know about. And he says, well, tell me. So I told him the plan. The plan was we're going to build a little pocket park. He goes, well, you're going to build a park in between 2 streets. Yes. Yes, sir. Well, we don't, that's not in our budget. Not a problem. I'm going to raise the money to do it. Can I do it? And that's a short story, right? Yeah. The answer was yes, eventually. And so I ended up selling the idea, this vision of creating a little pocket park in between 2 streets. And I had 45 people that I went out and positioned the idea to raise money for this, and they all said I would never let my child play in between two streets. That's a fool's errand.
Right.
Why would you put a place for children? No barriers, nothing, right. Just some trees and some places to sit. And my thought was, well, they've done it everywhere else in the world. So
maybe
I'm going to try it. And then I went back to why do we have 40-foot wide medians? Mm-hmm. We have 40-foot wide medians because in Columbus, that was a place for commerce back in 1885.
How about that?
It was built that way because it was a place for people to gather. I didn't create anything new. I just went back to what it was originally designed for.
I love that.
So we created the Pocket Park, the Grove. But it started with the taking away of a beautiful tree. And now we have 6 beautiful swamp oaks that are about almost a foot in diameter.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it's something good. And there's nothing more rewarding than sitting in my office with the window open in the spring and hearing the laughter of children playing and looking out and seeing them playing and jumping from box to box to box while eating Kilwin's chocolate.
Right.
And it's just, you're going, this is what it's this is what we're supposed to be doing in life.
I love
building
that.
Better community.
I love that, Chris. I love that. So, and I love that you took a problem and something that made you mad and just thought, let me see what I can do with this. I love that.
Well, and thankfully, I had we had leadership and that allowed me to do that.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And I think I remember I've asked people before, why would you let me do that? That's why would you? I mean, you've got this harebrained idea, and I'm coming to you, and the answer was because when you say something, you do it.
Oh, that's great.
And that
speaks volumes.
It does, but it's also, I think it's what we lose sight of sometimes. When you say something, mean it. And if you say you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and if you tell the truth, then you never have to worry about lying.
Right.
And you never have to worry about somebody questioning.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
I told you I was going to do this.
Right.
And therefore, at all costs, I will do what I told you I would do. And that's
fantastic.
That's my grandfather
and
my mother coming out. And my father, as a matter of fact. There's a theme here. Probably my sister, too.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that actually is a very good segue into, well, no, wait, hold on. Before I go into that, I have to give you a congratulations because you just recently received a very big honor. And for our listeners, you were named by Georgia Trend as one of the Georgia 500 most influential leaders in Georgia. I mean, that is huge. And so let me offer those congratulations.
Thank you.
And so tell me a little bit about that. Like when they came to you, what did you think?
I didn't know what to think. It was a surreal phone call to receive because you never... Well, you shouldn't do things for the accolades.
Right.
It's not what it's about. That's not what life is about.
Of course.
And so when somebody calls you to tell you thank you or to tell you we want to reward you because you've done so many things, it's a humbling feeling.
Right.
Because that's not why you did it, but wow, what an honor.
Right.
What an incredible honor to be recognized.
Exactly.
And so the quick answer is it's very surreal and it's very humbling. And I don't know how to react to it other than to think to myself, well, what's next?
Right.
How do I keep going? If the bar's been set for me here, how do I pass that?
Right.
Otis used to always say, aim for excellence to hit greatness.
Yeah.
And so just keep moving the bar up and up and up.
That's
and
fantastic.
So I'm humbled that I was selected and that I've been included in a list of some very incredible names.
Yes, you have.
I don't know what's going to be next for myself and the company, but I know I have a new mark to hit, and I never set out for this, but what an incredible honor!
It is a big honor, and we're quite proud of you. And I don't mean to sound patronizing when I say that, but like it truly is an honor, and you should be proud of yourself because it's just incredible what you've done.
I've had
and we're all the beneficiaries of it too.
I've had a lot of help along the way.
Yes,
a lot of help. This is not a Chris Woodruff award. This is all the people who have held their hand out or have propped me up and believed in me.
Yeah,
and that's why I've been able to receive this award. So
there you go. Well, we congratulate them as well. So, thank you. Okay, so do you have a vision for Columbus, like an overall vision for this community?
I do. I do have a vision for Columbus. And I know there are ways to articulate it better than this. But I'll do it in a way that makes sense for me and hopefully for the listeners. Because I could paint you a picture of all the great things that would be here and this and that and this. And I don't think that would justify it because you can't see what's in my head.
Right.
So I'll say it this way. My vision for Columbus is that when you run into someone in the Atlanta airport, as we often do, one of the largest traveled airports in the world.
Yes.
You will hear people saying, I'm on my way to Columbus.
I love that. Yeah.
That's my vision.
That's your vision. I think that's a beautiful vision. And I think it's happening.
It is. It's, and that it's the, I'm on my way to Columbus because of.
Right.
I happen to work at this incredible Fortune 500, yet another Fortune 500 company in that, quote, small town.
Right.
But people won't say that. Like, I'm going to Columbus, and they'll know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Not Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
You're flying into Atlanta because you're going to Columbus, Georgia.
That's awesome.
We're not just the second largest city in Atlanta, in Georgia. We are the other city in Georgia. There's two cities in Georgia. There's Atlanta and there's Columbus.
I think that's awesome.
That's my vision.
That's your vision. I like it. And hopefully, as we continue to graduate amazing human beings going off into the world, they will come home and become a part of that vision.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
I tell the seniors every year, I think, when I have the opportunity and I'm blessed to speak, is leave. Go away.
Yes.
Or stay.
Yes.
But take every moment you can and every opportunity you can to go see other things and then come home.
Right.
And carry it on.
Totally agree. Go off and learn and come back and make this place even better. I love that. Okay, so I know we're running out of time, but if you've just kind of said this, but if you could tell our Brookstone students one thing to take advantage of while you're here, like you said earlier, that sometimes you don't realize what all we have here at Brookstone for our students until you grow up, until you leave and you go away and you realize the impact this place has had. But if you could tell them right now, don't miss this while you're here, what would it be?
I think I would say to anyone at Brookstone or anyone under the age of 18, step outside yourself. Understand and embrace that you don't know what you don't know. I heard this last night talking to a dear friend, and he said, the problem that and he was talking about his generation, he's 75. He said, the problem that we have is that we're trying to tell people that are 16, 17, and 18 years old 50 years worth of knowledge, and they glaze over because there's no way. They haven't experienced that. So I would tell people that are under the age of 18, still in high school and grade school, and know what you don't know and know that others may. Humble yourself and always ask the questions. Always ask questions. Understand. Seek to understand and gain wisdom.
Right.
And the world will become your oyster. And you'll learn so much. But always ask the questions. Seek wisdom before anything else.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That is one thing that through the Blanchard Leadership Institute, one of the tenets of developmental intelligence, if you will, is to be curious and not judgmental. And just what that really means is just always ask those questions and not judge a situation or a person as if you already know the answers to all of it.
Right.
And so that just lines up perfectly into that. Oh my goodness, I could talk all day to you here. I've just got so many other things. Okay. So going to, if you just gave the most wonderful advice, but like the best advice that you have been given, if it's anything other than you've already shared, because how could you top what you've already shared?
There are three tenets in our family that my grandfather imposed upon me, and again, I was very blessed to spend a lot of time with him, which I would then pause a moment and say to anyone who's listening to this, find somebody who is your senior, whether it be 10 years, 20 years older than you, and spend time with them and ask the questions.
Yeah.
Because you will learn so much about them, about the world, and even about yourself if you just listen.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, which again, I credit him with a lot of my success, but he would always say, be a man of your word. If you say you'll do it, period. Just do that.
Yeah.
2 was do the best you can with what you have where you are. Now, that's a derivative of Martha Washington quote, but it's worked for us. Right? Then there's the fourth one. The other one was my great-grandfather, Jim Woodruff, said this: anything can be accomplished as long as you don't care who gets the credit.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so seek to accomplish, not to get credit.
Yeah.
The last one is don't ever give up.
There you go.
Ever.
All right. So one other question I want to ask you. What book? I love to read. Do you have a book? Do you have a favorite book that may have impacted you or that just really meant something to you?
Yes. And unfortunately, it's not just one book. And I'll say that because
you could name more than one.
Well, there's a book for your seasons in your life.
Okay.
And I believe in that. I believe that there's that one book. And then 5 years later, you go, there's another book. But here's some that have shaped me, right? And one of them that came to mind immediately when I saw this, I was like, Huston Smith's The World's Religions.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with that.
So it was written in the 60s.
Okay.
It's an incredible book, but it's just a deep dive into the world's religions. And Barbara Livengood, who is a teacher here at school,
she was mine too.
She taught a class called World Religions.
Oh, really?
And that was the book she used for it. But it helps to open your eyes and see that there is more than just the church you go to.
Right.
Or, it helps you understand what people's core beliefs and what that comes from. So that to me was a big part of my growing up. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho is one that is a must read. It's a quick read, but it gets back to searching and always searching and realizing sometimes what you have where you are is what's most important. To water the grass where you stand, not on the other side, and it's always as green. 1984, George Orwell, to understand the curiosity and what the visions could be and the detriment of society if it keeps going certain ways. Similar along those lines, Ayn Rand's Anthem, which was a pivotal book for me when I was in 9th grade, I think. I found it on our bookshelf at home. And so here I am thumbing through Ayn Rand. But it's one of those pieces of literature that it really helps you understand what life was in 1937 Russia. Right? And in a different way. It's not about a Russian revolution. It's something completely different. And lastly, I think this is something that should be read on a regular basis, is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Because it helps you understand, especially in business and in athletics and in life, how to approach situations and to see from all sides.
Right.
And to be mindful and be cognizant of the decision that you make, how it's not just impacting what's directly in front of you.
Right.
How you're ultimately dropping a pebble in a pond, and that's a ripple effect for everything you do.
Right.
So it's a good reminder for me,
Yeah.
and I keep one, a copy in my house and at my office, and I'll thumb through it. And it's not because I want to start war, but it's because it's a piece of Chinese philosophy that you can't get around.
Yeah.
And it's still applicable today, even after the millennia that's
Right.
gone by.
That's awesome. Well, this has been so much fun to chat. And
Thank you.
I just appreciate everything you're doing and your willingness to come back and share all of this with our students. I think they love hearing from you every year. And again, like you said, we want them to go off and come back. And I think you're helping, along with so many others, create a community that they want to come home to. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I think that I know that God has blessed me with so much. And I couldn't do any of this without the people in my life, without the support of my wife and all my friends and family. But gosh, there's so much we can accomplish if we work together and if we seek to just make the world a little bit better than when we found it.
I agree. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing all of this with us and for being here today. And so hopefully we'll see you down at High Side Market soon.
I'll be there, promise.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.